Hello, I'm Govinda Gill with the BBC News. Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. A statement from the former US president's office said he had an aggressive form of the disease. Jake Kwan is in Washington and has more details.
President Biden's office said he had gone for tests after experiencing urinary symptoms. Doctors found a nodule on his prostate. Tests confirmed it was cancer which had spread to his bones. The doctors say that while it's an aggressive form of the disease, it's hormone sensitive, which will allow for effective management. His family are said to be considering treatment options. Mr. Biden is 82 and left office in January as the oldest president in the U.S. history. He had decided not to run for re-election after struggling in a televised debate with Donald Trump, which raised concerns around his cognitive ability. President Trump said he was saddened to hear the news and wished Mr. Biden a fast recovery.
Israel says it'll allow a basic amount of food into Gaza over concerns the onset of famine in the territory would impede its renewed military offensive against Hamas. No food, fuel or medicine has entered Gaza for more than 2 months. Weira Davis is in Jerusalem.
The office of the Israeli Prime Minister said that on the recommendation of the country's military, it would allow a basic amount of food into Gaza to ensure that famine does not develop in the Palestinian territory. Israel has come under increasing international pressure to lift its 10-week blockade of Gaza, which has put much of the population at risk of famine. An Israeli statement said that such a crisis would jeopardize the ongoing expanded military operation in which Israel is sending troops and tanks into Gaza in a full-scale campaign to defeat Hamas.
A Liberal politician who favours closer ties with the European Union has won Romania's presidential election. Nicolae Dan has an unassailable lead over the nationalist candidate, George Simeon. In a victory speech, Mr. Dan told supporters the process of rebuilding the country would start tomorrow.
Romania starts a new phase tomorrow and it needs each of you. It needs specialists to get involved in different public policies. It needs people in civil society. It needs new people in politics. And as you have proven that you can do this campaign, please continue to be active for Romania.
The head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said voters had chosen the promise of an open and prosperous Romania. The Liberal mayor of Warsaw is narrowly ahead after a tight first round in Poland's presidential election. Exit polls give Rafał Trzaskowski just under 31% of the vote. Mr. Trzaskowski is all but certain to face a right-wing runner, Karol Nawrocki. BBC News. The governing right-of-centre Democratic Alliance has won Portugal's snap parliamentary election, but it's again fallen short of a full majority. The leader of the main opposition Socialist Party, Pedro Nuno Santos, announced his resignation shortly after, despite finishing second. His party lost seats and was closely trailed by the far-right Chega party. The alleged leader of Brazil's biggest criminal organisation has been expelled from Bolivia 2 days after his arrest. Marcos Roberto del Almeida, known as Tuta, has been handed over to the Brazilian authorities. He's been transferred to a high-security prison in Brazil. Tuta is believed to be the de facto leader of the PCC gang, which smuggles huge amounts of cocaine into Europe. A team of scientists in Canada have begun unearthing one of the world's biggest dinosaur graveyards, thought to hold the remains of thousands of Pachyrhinosaurus, a distant relative of Triceratops. The 72-million-year-old site in Alberta is believed to be one of the densest fossil beds ever discovered. Paleontologist Professor Emily Bamforth is working on the site.
So this bone bed is absolutely enormous. It is, we believe, one of the largest bone beds in North America. So beyond this area about the size of a tennis court that's already being excavated, there's been about 8,000 fossils that have come out of just this site, and it goes back into the hill for a square kilometre.
Experts think the animals were migrating as a huge herd when they were wiped out by a flash flood. Egypt's Antiquities Ministry says it's retrieved 21 artefacts, including an Eye of Horus amulet and a fragment of a wooden sarcophagus that had been smuggled to Australia. When it emerged, they lacked proper ownership documents. The Australian auction house displaying them returned them to the Egyptian embassy in Canberra. BBC News.